It can help you access the consciousness and capabilities of advanced future selves while maintaining stability in your present life circumstances. Once you've established genuine contact with your higher self, everything about timeline shifting and reality creation changes. Your higher self exists billions of years in the future, so far evolved that it has transcended individual timelines altogether. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott, and today we're talking about what happens when you actually meet your higher self. You know, there's a moment in every spiritual journey when you stop imagining what it would be like to meet your higher self and actually experience it. When the abstract concept becomes a living, breathing relationship that changes everything about how you navigate reality. When you realize that the guidance you've been seeking has been available all along, but you didn't know how to access it. I'm thankful for my connection to my higher self. It is the reason I'm able to create so many episodes. A lot of the content I create is coming directly from my higher self. I realize you might have heard that term before, higher self. What does it mean? According to the law of one, each of us has a higher self that comes from the 6.5 density, 3.5 billion years in the future, in many cases, sometimes less or more. And when you move on to the 7th density, you leave a sort of version of yourself called your higher self that guides you on the process of ascension through the densities. When I began understanding this concept, I started focusing on how I could connect and speak with my higher self. I did interviews where I talked to Jim McCarty, who was originally part of the Law of One channelings, and asked him, how can I meet my higher self? You can watch my interview where I did that. And I made it my focus and actually started channeling and communicating with my higher self. My connection to my higher self is one of the most profound things I've ever experienced. I remember the first time I made genuine contact with my higher self. I've been practicing timeline shifting for years, quantum jumping, accessing different future versions of myself, experiencing powerful meditations and transformational states. But this was different. This wasn't just another future self from a few years ahead or even a few decades ahead. This was contact with a consciousness that existed billions of years in the future, with awareness spanning all possible realities, all potential timelines, all versions of myself that could ever exist. The encounter shattered everything I thought I knew about consciousness. I had understood the higher self philosophically and academically. This shattered what I knew about identity and the nature of reality itself. It opened up a relationship that has become the foundation of everything I teach about timeline shifting, transformation, manifestation, reality creation, you name it. You know, I get the question often, is the higher self God? Well, certainly the higher self is a portion of God. The higher self is related directly to my soul and its path and its journey through the next billions of years. We each have a higher self. And there are elements where higher selves work in conjunction, and eventually all of our higher selves join together, becoming God. That is very difficult for us to conceptualize. Today I want to share with you the difference between imagining contact with your higher self and actually experiencing it. How to prepare for genuine higher self integration, and why this relationship is the most important step you can take in your spiritual and personal evolution. Now, I highly recommend you check out my meditation, Connecting with Your Higher Self. It's one of my most popular meditations. That is a good place for you to start to actually begin to experience your higher self, to meet your higher self. Before we go any further, I want to clarify something that causes tremendous confusion in spiritual and developmental circles. Most people use the term higher self and future self interchangeably, but they're actually describing completely different aspects of consciousness. Your future selves are infinite versions of you that exist across different timelines and probability streams. These are versions of yourself from months, years, decades, or centuries ahead, living different lives, having made different choices, developing different skills and characteristics. When you practice timeline shifting, parallel reality sliding, quantum surfing, quantum jumping, all of it. You're primarily connecting with these future selves to integrate their wisdom, energy, and capabilities into your current reality as I teach it. This is all very specific to what I am teaching. This is incredibly powerful work. I've helped thousands of people connect with future selves who are successful entrepreneurs, artists, healing from trauma, living in perfect relationships, and embodying any number of desired qualities. These connections can create profound shifts in your current timeline as you integrate the consciousness and capabilities of these more evolved versions of yourself. But your higher self is something entirely different. Your higher self exists billions of years in the future, so far evolved that it has transcended individual timelines altogether. It has awareness of all possible realities, all potential versions of yourself, all the paths you could take, and all the outcomes they lead to. It's like having access to a consciousness that can see the entire maze of possibilities from above while you're walking through it at ground level. Thinking of it this way, your future selves are like different destinations you can reach by taking different paths through the forest. Your higher self is like having a consciousness that can fly above the entire forest, seeing all paths simultaneously, understanding which ones lead to dead ends, which ones lead to treasure, and which ones lead to the destinations that serve your highest evolution. This is why establishing a relationship with your higher self is so critical for timeline shifting work. It's the first step in my process in quantum jumping and parallel reality shifting. Without this perspective, you might connect with future selves that seem appealing and actually represent limitations or dead ends when viewed from the broader perspective of your soul's evolution. I learned this in guiding people to focus on their optimal timeline and coming to a realization that oftentimes what we think would be our greatest timeline in our hearts, what we're aiming for, those things we crave and desire, when looked at from the larger perspective of the higher self, is not what we want. And so I started including this as a part of the integration in understanding where we need to go. Your higher self also serves as a protective guide in timeline shifting work. One of the reasons we're here is to understand how to travel through the multiverse. And there are realities you could access that would create tremendous instability, even insanity, in your consciousness or your life. Major quantum jumps can sometimes be way too disruptive for your current system to integrate safely. Your higher self will often block you from accessing certain timelines or future selves until you're ready to handle the shifts they would create. I learned this lesson early. In my reality creation practice, I was trying to access a future self that represented a massive leap in consciousness and capabilities. I could feel this version of myself, could sense their energy, but every time I tried to integrate with them, I hit a wall, and I was frustrated thinking I was doing something wrong. It wasn't until I established contact with my higher self that I understood what was happening. This particular future self-integration would have required me to completely abandon my current life, relationships, and identity. I desperately wanted to win the lottery and just sit back on the beach, drink pina coladas all the time. And this leap was so dramatic that it would have created chaos rather than growth for me. My higher self was protecting me from a transformation that it would have been destabilizing rather than evolutionary. I would not have created the reality revolution. I would not have done meditations and worked on helping others and shifting their realities. This took me a while. Once I understood this, I was able to work with my higher self to identify intermediate steps, future selves that represented significant growth, but within a framework that my current life could handle. The transformations were just as profound, but they unfolded in a way that created stability rather than upheaval. One of the biggest challenges people face in this work is a distinguishing between genuine contact with higher consciousness, and their own imagination. This confusion keeps people stuck in surface-level experiences when profound transformation is actually available to them. Let me share the key differences so you can recognize when you're having a real encounter versus when you're creating a mental experience. Imagination feels like it's coming from you. You're directing the conversation, creating the responses, controlling the imagery. It feels comfortable and familiar because it's coming from your existing beliefs and knowledge regarding your current reality. The guidance you receive is usually something you could have figured out on your own, just packaged in a spiritual language. Real higher self contact feels like it's coming through you, not from you. There's a sense of receiving information rather than creating it. The consciousness you're connecting with has a distinct personality and energy that feels separate from your normal awareness. Most importantly, the guidance you receive often surprises you, challenges your assumptions, or provides perspectives you never have considered on your own. Another key difference is the quality of the energy. Imagination feels flat, one-dimensional, like a movie you're watching in your head. Real higher self contact is accompanied by energy that you can feel throughout your body. There might be tingling, warmth, pressure, or waves of energy. Your nervous system responds because it's receiving actual energetic transmission, not just mental concepts. The information you receive is also qualitatively different. Imagination tends to be vague, general, or tells you what you want to hear. Real, higher self-guidance is often specific, practical, and sometimes challenging. It might ask you to take actions that push you outside your comfort zone or challenge beliefs you've been holding on to. Time distortion is another indicator. During genuine higher self-contact, time seems to stop or become irrelevant. You might feel like you've been in communication for hours when only minutes have passed, or vice versa. This happens because you're accessing consciousness that exists outside of linear time. The lasting impact is perhaps the most reliable indicator. Imaginary encounters might feel good in the moment, but don't create lasting change. Real higher self-contact creates shifts that continue reverberating through your life long after the initial experience. Your perspective changes, your energy shifts, and you find yourself naturally making different choices aligned with the guidance you receive. I remember one of my early encounters that taught me the difference viscerally. I was in meditation, attempting to contact my higher self, and I felt myself making up responses to my questions. The guidance was generic, predictable, basically what I expected to hear. I knew deep down I was creating these responses. And then something shifted. Suddenly there was this presence within me that felt vast, ancient, and unmistakable. The energy was so intense I could barely stay in the meditation. And the first thing this consciousness said to me was completely unexpected. Stop trying so hard to control your spiritual experiences. You're blocking the very thing you're seeking. This was not the advice I would have given myself. I was someone who prided myself on discipline and effort in my spiritual practice. But as soon as I heard it, I knew it was true. More importantly, I could feel the truth of it in my body. There was an energy transmission that accompanied the words that created an immediate shift in my consciousness. From that moment forward, my spiritual practice became more receptive, more surrendered, and infinitely more effective. That single piece of guidance from my higher self transformed years of struggle into effortless flow. But here's what is crucial. This level of contact doesn't just happen randomly. It requires preparation, the right conditions, and often expert guidance to help you navigate the experience safely. Your higher self communicates through multiple channels simultaneously, and learning to recognize and interpret these communications is essential for developing a genuine relationship. The first channel is direct knowing. This isn't thoughts or words, but sudden understanding that arrives completely and fully formed. You might ask a question and instantly know the answer, not because you figured it out, but because the knowledge was transmitted to you. This type of communication often bypasses the logical mind entirely. The second channel is energetic transmission. Your higher self communicates through energy patterns, frequencies, and vibrations that your body receives before your mind interprets them. You might feel guidance as warmth in your heart, tingling in your crown, or waves of energy moving through your system. Learning to read these energetic communications is like developing a new sense. The third channel is symbolic imagery. Your higher self often communicates through symbols, metaphors, and visions that contain multiple layers of meaning. These aren't random images from your subconscious, but carefully chosen symbols that communicate complex concepts in ways your current consciousness can understand. The fourth channel is synchronistic orchestration. Your higher self can influence the timing of events, encounters, and opportunities in your life to deliver guidance. You might repeatedly encounter the same message from different sources, or find yourself in situations that provide exactly the insight you need. The fifth channel is timeline perspective. Your higher self can show you multiple probability streams simultaneously, helping you understand the potential consequences of different choices. This is not predicting a fixed future, but showing you the trajectories that different decisions create. The most amazing thing about connecting with my higher self is I can look into possibilities for myself and others. When I look into timeline possibilities, I see them. I can see if I go down this path, I can see the critical choice points that are available to me and the different things that will happen. Your higher self won't violate your free will. It cannot and will not force guidance upon you or make decisions for you. It can only respond when you ask and when you're genuinely open to receiving guidance that might challenge your current perspectives. And as I understand it, the higher self can block you from shifting into realities that are so radical, so different that it can damage you on a soul level. So this happens all the time. You have some particular reality you want to shift into and it doesn't happen. You say, why? Why didn't it happen? It's because your higher self was protecting you. This is why people struggle to establish consistent contact. They're asking for guidance while simultaneously resisting any answer that would require them to change or grow. The higher self respects your sovereignty too much to override your resistance. I've learned that the most effective way to communicate with your higher self is to ask specific questions while genuinely surrendering attachment to particular answers. This creates the receptive state necessary for authentic guidance to come through. The relationship also deepens over time. Initial contact might be brief and require tremendous focus to maintain. But as you develop the relationship, communication becomes more natural and accessible. You begin to sense your higher self's presence throughout your day, not just during formal meditation. For me, there would be these magical moments where my higher self would come through. But I had learned that I could not immediately contact my higher self at any time. Sometimes I find myself asking questions and no answer would come. Eventually, I started to understand the ways that the higher self worked with me and developed a relationship with my higher self over time that has provided so many blessings for me, something I want to facilitate for you. This ongoing relationship transforms how you navigate life. Instead of trying to figure everything out through mental analysis, you can access the perspective of consciousness that sees all possibilities simultaneously. Instead of making decisions based on limited information, you can receive guidance from awareness that understands the ultimate implications of your choices. Genuine higher self-integration requires specific preparation because you're attempting to interface with consciousness that operates at frequencies far beyond normal human awareness. Without proper preparation, the experience can be overwhelming or inaccessible. The first preparation is developing energetic capacity. Your nervous system needs to be able to handle the high-frequency energy of higher self-contact without becoming overloaded. This requires practices that strengthen and purify your energetic system. Meditation, breathwork, energy healing, and lifestyle choices that support nervous system health. Many people attempt higher self contact while their system is depleted, stressed, or blocked by emotional trauma. This is like trying to receive a high-definition signal on a broken television. The information might be available, but your system can't process it clearly. The second preparation is clearing limiting beliefs about what's possible. If you fundamentally don't believe in what I'm saying about the higher self, if you don't believe that contact with higher consciousness is real, your skepticism will block the very experiences you're seeking. This doesn't mean becoming gullible or abandoning discernment or believing just what anybody says about this. But opening to possibilities beyond your current understanding is a prerequisite. Third way to prepare is to develop discernment. You need to be able to distinguish between genuine higher self contact and just wishful thinking, imagination, or interference from other consciousness. Something might come through and it's not your higher self, but it acts like your higher self. The universe is abundant with voices trying to come through all the time. This discernment develops through experience, but is crucial for maintaining the integrity of your spiritual practice. The fourth preparation is creating a sacred space and time for these encounters. Higher self-contact requires focused attention, minimal distractions, and energetic environments that support expanded consciousness. This might mean dedicating specific times for practice, creating altars or sacred spaces, or working with supportive communities. The fifth preparation is learning to channel consciousness rather than just communicate with it. True higher self integration goes beyond receiving guidance to actually embodying higher self consciousness temporarily. This is an advanced practice that requires surrendering your normal sense of self while maintaining enough awareness to receive and integrate the experience. I discovered the importance of channeling work almost by accident. During one of my higher self communications, instead of asking questions and receiving answers, I found myself inviting my higher self to speak through me. The experience was extraordinary. For nearly an hour, I felt like I was observing my higher self using my voice to share perspectives and insights that were far beyond my normal understanding. When I listened to the recording afterward, I was amazed by the depth and coherence of what had come through. It wasn't just information I might have known intellectually, but wisdom that was integrated, embodied, and transmitted with an energy that created shifts in anyone who heard it. This experience taught me that higher self-integration isn't just about receiving guidance. It's about temporarily becoming a vehicle for higher consciousness to express itself in physical reality. The level of integration creates transformation that goes far beyond what's possible through normal communication. But this depth of integration requires expert guidance and safe containers. When you're channeling consciousness that exists billions of years in the future, you need support to navigate the experience safely and integrate what comes through effectively. Once you've established genuine contact with your higher self, everything about timeline shifting and reality creation changes. Instead of randomly exploring different future selves or trying to guess which timelines would serve you, you gain access to the ultimate navigation system for consciousness evolution. Your higher self can see all possible timelines simultaneously, understanding which paths lead to your greatest growth and which ones lead to your dead ends or an unnecessary suffering. It's because your higher self has lived all those lives and remembers them. This perspective is invaluable for anyone serious about conscious evolution because it prevents you from getting lost in appealing but ultimately limiting possibilities. For example, you might be drawn to a reality where you've achieved massive material success, but your higher self can see that this particular timeline leads to spiritual stagnation. Or you might resist connecting with a future where you go through significant challenges because your higher self can see that these challenges are necessary for your ultimate evolution. Your higher self helps you to identify the optimal sequence for timeline shifts. Major transformations often need to unfold in specific stages to prevent destabilization. Your higher self can guide you through the intermediate steps that prepare you for the ultimate timeline you're meant to experience. This is where the relationship between all your selves becomes clear. Your higher self, your future selves, and your current self are all the same consciousness experiencing itself across different points in time and space. The apparent separation is just a function of linear time perspective. When you understand this, timeline shifting becomes less about trying to become someone else and more about remembering who you already are across all dimensions of existence. Your future selves aren't separate beings you're trying to emulate. They're aspects of your own consciousness that exist simultaneously in the eternal now. It took me a long time to understand that. Your higher self helps you navigate this understanding without losing your grounding in your current reality. It can help you access the consciousness and capabilities of advanced future selves while maintaining stability in your present life circumstances. It is my belief that this relationship that you create with your future self is the reason that you're here, is part of the process of your ascension. I learned to work with my higher self as my primary timeline navigation system through years of practice and some challenging experiences. Early in my work, I was accessing versions of myself randomly, creating internal conflict as different aspects of consciousness competed for expression in my current life. It created a certain level of insanity within me. As I was doing this, my higher self taught me to approach this work systematically, identifying the core themes and goals that unite all my potential futures, then working with specific future selves in sequence to unfold these themes harmoniously. This approach transformed my timeline work from chaotic experimentation to coordinated evolution. Instead of trying to integrate every appealing version of myself I encounter, I learned to work with the ones my higher self identified as the most relevant for my current growth edge. Now, some of you might think that this sounds a little too advanced, and it is. When you're connecting with future selves, maybe you've never even connected with a different version of yourself. I'm saying it's available for you. If you keep working on it and trying it, you will start to do this. And once you do, then it expands just like learning an instrument. The results for me have been profound. My transformations have become more stable, more integrated, and more aligned with my deeper purpose. I've created incredible changes, accessed amazing skills and knowledge by utilizing these techniques. So much so that I've become almost a zealot in advocating for these techniques as a form of expansion in other people's lives. I want to bring these experiences to you. So this is an activation, so let me guide you through a process that will help you begin developing a genuine contact with your higher self. This is a structured approach to creating the conditions where real higher self communication can occur. Before we begin, understand that this process may feel different from other meditations you've done. We're not trying to create an experience through willpower or imagination. We're creating the conditions for your higher self to initiate contact with you. This requires a level of surrender and receptivity that might feel unfamiliar at first. Set a clear intention to open to whatever form this contact takes, even if it's different from what you expect. Remember that your higher self respects your free will and will only communicate to the degree that you're genuinely ready to receive guidance that might challenge your current perspectives. Find a comfortable position where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and begin with several deep and slow breaths. Not just breathing into your lungs, but breathing into your entire energy field, expanding with each inhale and relaxing with each exhale. Feel yourself settling into your body, into this moment, into the eternal now, where all versions of yourself exist simultaneously. Take a moment to ground yourself completely in your current identity and circumstances. Feel your current life, your current challenges, your current awareness. This grounding is essential because we're going to expand far beyond this perspective while maintaining a stable anchor point. Now begin by acknowledging the vast network of consciousness that you are. Feel into the reality that you exist not just as this current version, but as infinite expressions across time, space, and dimensions. Feel your future selves from next month, next year, in the next decade. Feel versions of yourself from parallel timelines where you made different choices. Feel the potential selves that exist in probability but haven't been actualized yet. As you expand into this awareness, notice how your sense of identity begins to stretch. You're not losing yourself, but recognizing the vastness of what you actually are. All these versions are you, experiencing consciousness from different vantage points in the infinite web of existence. From this expanded awareness, now set a specific intention to connect with your higher self. The consciousness that exists billions of years in the future, that has transcended individual timelines, that holds awareness of all your potential paths and evolutionary possibilities. This is not just another future self, but the ultimate expression of your consciousness that serves as your guide and protector across all realities and all densities and dimensions. Instead of trying to imagine what this consciousness looks like or sounds like, just simply open yourself to receive its presence. Your higher self might communicate through energy, through sudden knowing, through shifts in your emotional state, through symbols, or through direct transmission. You may hear a voice, you may see words. Just trust whatever begins to occur, even if it's very subtle. You might feel a presence joining you in your meditation space. You might sense an expansion in your awareness, like your consciousness is suddenly able to perceive from a much higher vantage point. You might feel energy moving through your body, particularly in your crown chakra and your heart center. You might simply have a knowing that something has shifted, that you're no longer alone in your meditation. Take a moment to acknowledge this presence, whatever form it takes. Even if you're not sure whether you're imagining it, that's fine. Just proceed as if the contact is real. Say internally or out loud, I acknowledge your presence, my higher self. Thank you for being available to guide me. Now, from this space of acknowledgement and receptivity, ask a genuine question about your current life circumstances. Anything. Choose something you truly want guidance on. Not something you already know the answer to. It might be about a decision you're facing, a challenge you're navigating, or a direction for your growth. Ask the question clearly and then completely surrender your attachment to receiving any particular answer. The surrender is crucial. Your higher self can only communicate clearly when you're genuinely open to guidance that might surprise you. challenge your assumptions, or ask you to consider perspectives you haven't thought of. Pay attention, not just to any words or images, but to the energetic shifts in your body. You might feel a warmth or a tingling or a pressure. Notice any changes in your emotional state, perhaps sudden peace or clarity or expansion. Be aware of any sudden knowing that appears in your consciousness. Information that arrives complete and fully formed. If you receive guidance, don't immediately analyze it or try to understand it logically. Just simply receive it. Allow it to settle into your awareness. Your higher self operates from a perspective so vast that its guidance often needs time to unfold and make sense within your current framework of understanding. Now ask your higher self to show you the broader perspective of your current life situation. Ask to see your challenges, relationships, and circumstances from the viewpoint of consciousness that exists billions of years in the future and understands the ultimate purpose behind everything you're experiencing. Feel yourself receiving this expanded perspective. You might suddenly understand why certain difficulties have been necessary for your growth. You might see how current challenges are preparing you for future opportunities. You might recognize patterns in your life that serve purposes you hadn't been aware of. Notice how differently your current circumstances appear when viewed from this higher dimensional awareness. Problems might reveal themselves as opportunities. Obstacles might be seen as perfect training for capabilities you're developing. Relationships that seem difficult might be understood as precise catalysts for your evolution. Now, from this expanded perspective, ask your higher self about your timeline shifting work. Ask, what do I most need to understand about navigating different versions of myself? Which future selves would serve my highest evolution at this time? What reality and timeline aligns with my soul's deepest purpose? Be prepared for answers that might surprise you. Don't create the response. Open yourself to it. Your higher self might guide you toward future selves that seem challenging rather than comfortable. It might suggest timeline trajectories that require growth. It might reveal that certain futures that you've been pursuing actually limit your evolution. Receive this guidance with trust, knowing that your higher self can see consequences and possibilities that are invisible from your current vantage point. Now ask a more personal question. What blocks or limitations am I ready to release? What aspects of my identity am I holding on to that no longer serve my evolution? How can I be more receptive to your guidance in my daily life? As you receive this guidance, you might feel energy moving through your system, dissolving blocks or upgrading your energetic capacity. You might experience emotional release. You might feel your nervous system recalibrating. Now ask your higher self if there's anything else you need to know at this time. This open-ended question allows your higher self to share guidance you weren't wise enough to ask for directly. Just be completely open to receiving perspectives that challenge your current beliefs. Who knows, you might receive guidance about relationships or career directions, spiritual practices. You might get insights about timing, about patience. You might receive information about your soul's purpose, whatever it is. Whatever you receive, let it settle into your awareness without immediately trying to figure it out or judge it. Your higher self operates from a much longer timeline than your current personality. As this communication begins to naturally complete itself, take time to express gratitude for your higher self. Not just for the specific guidance, but for the constant presence and protection it provides throughout all your timelines. Ask that this relationship continues to deepen and strengthen. Ask that you become increasingly sensitive to your higher self's guidance in your daily life. Set an intention to honor the guidance you receive, even if you don't fully understand it yet. Commit to remaining open to the ongoing communication and support your higher self wants to provide. Now feel yourself integrating whatever you receive during this communication. Feel the guidance, the energy, expanding perspective settling into your energy field. Feel yourself returning to normal waking consciousness while maintaining the sense of connection and expanded awareness. Know that you can return to this state of communication whenever you create the proper conditions. Take several deep breaths, feeling yourself fully grounded in your current reality while carrying the wisdom and energy of this higher dimensional contact. What you just experienced is the beginning of what's possible when you develop a genuine relationship with your higher self. But like any relationship, this one deepens and becomes more accessible through consistent practice, optimal conditions, and sometimes expert guidance. Higher self work thrives in certain environments and circumstances. Sacred spaces, whether in nature or intentionally created indoors, support the expanded states of consciousness necessary for this level of contact. Group settings, where others are also engaged in advanced spiritual practice, create energetic fields that make higher consciousness more accessible. The guidance and support of someone who has already developed their own higher self relationship is invaluable for navigating the challenges and opportunities that arise in this work. Advanced spiritual experiences can sometimes be disorienting or overwhelming without proper context and integration. This is why I've become so passionate about creating intensive experiences where people can develop these relationships in optimal conditions. When you're surrounded by others who are doing the same work, guided by someone who understands the territory, held in sacred space that's dedicated to transformation, the depth and clarity of higher self contact increases exponentially. That's what led me to start doing live events. We are gathering in Los Angeles from November 21st through the 23rd to create the perfect conditions for the kind of higher self integration that can take years to develop through individual practice alone. This is an intensive initiation into higher self-consciousness, guided by someone who has spent decades developing these relationships, and I want to see you there. You can find out more by going to www.brianscottlive.com/event-November. My friends Kyle Boyd and Leah Rush from the Heart Coherence Collaborative will be there to help create the psychological coherence that makes advanced spiritual contact possible. Your nervous system is prepared and your heart is in coherence. Your capacity for higher consciousness contact increases dramatically. But what makes this so unique is that we're specifically focused on helping you develop the kind of genuine higher self relationship that transforms everything about how you navigate life and consciousness. Your higher self has been guiding you your entire life, orchestrating synchronicities, creating opportunities for growth. The only question is whether you're ready to develop a conscious relationship with this aspect of your consciousness. The relationship is the foundation of everything I teach about timeline shifting, future self-integration, and reality creation. Without this connection, you're navigating consciousness work without a compass. With it, You have access to the ultimate guidance system for your evolution. The contact you experience today is just the beginning. Your higher self is ready for much deeper communication and integration. The question is, are you ready to create the optimal conditions for this relationship to flourish? If you're feeling called to develop this connection intensively, to experience what higher self integration looks like when the optimal conditions are present, I invite you to join us in Los Angeles on November 21st through the 23rd. You can find all the details at brianscottlive.com/event-November. Whether you join us there or pursue this relationship through your own practice, know that your higher self is always available, always guiding, always loving. The consciousness that exists billions of years in your future is not some distant entity. It's you. It's you in your most evolved form, reaching back through time to help you remember who you truly are. Your higher self is calling. The only question is, are you ready to answer? I will see you in the higher dimensions of consciousness. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. I would just love it if you checked out my art. You can find it at www.newearth.art. And once again, you can find the link to the event that I've spoken about in the description, which is www.brianscottlive.com/event-November. I really want to see you there. It is my goal to meet all of you, to meditate with all of you, to connect all of you with your higher self. This is the time to do it now, and I will be there for you. And as always, welcome to the Reality Revolution. Hello, it's Brian Scott. And I'm beyond excited to finally announce a live, in-person, 3-day event that I'm hosting in Los Angeles on November 21st through the 23rd. And when you walk away from this event, your life will be changed forever. Whatever it is that you're looking for right now, if you need to heal from something, to find the love of your life, to find wealth, to find your purpose, to ascend, to evolve, whatever that is, whatever your desire, this event is designed to bring that to you. There is a timeline available for you where you can live the very best life that you could ever imagine, where everything is always working out for you. And this event is designed to shift you into that reality and make it something tangible and real that you experience. I promise you that this will change your life.